Hello friends. Well, the techniques we are going to learn today finds a lot of application in the industry, and if not for them, our lives would have got a little more challenging than what it is already. Let's look around our house and find some items that we can use as examples. Let's start with our kitchen. Now what do we see here? We can see an LPG cylinder that helps us cook. We also see some common salt, some skimmed milk and cream in the fridge. Now let's go to the bedroom and search the dressing table. We will have at our home this bottle called nail polish remover with nothing but a chemical called acetone. In your room we can also see a bottle of ink of your favorite pen. Well, now that we have collected all these articles, let me ask you a question. Do you think the things we collected are found in the nature in the same form? Well, the answer is no. Now, interestingly, most of the time the substances that we see around us are not always in their pure form. They exist as a mixture of two or more substances, but a lot of times we cannot see that with our eyes. Hence, the science of separating individual components of a mixture becomes all the more important for us to know. In this session, we will look at some simple and common separation techniques used to separate or purify compounds from mixtures of various types. Now friends, let us try to separate some mixtures using some setups. The first method we will use is called centrifugation. Centrifugation is a mechanical process that utilizes an applied centrifugal force field to separate the components of a mixture according to the density and or the particle size. The first continuous centrifuge, designed in 1878 by the Swedish inventor de Laval to separate cream from milk, opened the door to a broad range of industrial applications. Now, with the help of a simulation, let us understand what exactly is the process of centrifugation and the science behind it. We can see a very simple setup containing two solutions, one with muddy water and other with milk. Here, we are using a mechanical centrifuge for better understanding, although there are also various electric centrifuges also available. Now we will place these tubes containing our solution in the test tube holder of the centrifuge by clicking on them and set the speed to medium. You can select the speed to be low, medium or high. Now please note that the lesser the speed, the time taken for centrifugation will be more. There are different controls for better visualization. Now that we are ready, let's switch on the centrifuge by setting the speed to medium and by clicking the red button. After the timer has stopped, the two tubes are removed, and on closer inspection, we see that both our solutions have separated into their respective constituents. In case of muddy water, the mud being heavier has settled down to leave water on the top, and in the case of milk, we can see that cream being lighter constituent has settled on the top, leaving us with the skimmed milk at the bottom. Now, how does this exactly happens? As the rotor spins around the central axis, it generates a centrifugal force acting to move particles away from the axis of rotation. If the centrifugal force exceeds the buoyant force of liquid media and the frictional force created by the particles will sediment. Here, the speed of the rotation really matters when it comes to separation. The more the speed, the less time it will take to separate. Thus, we have seen how we have separated mixtures based on different densities of their constituent by taking help of the centrifugal force. Well, I hope this clears the concept of centrifugation. Reset the simulation and see how much time it takes when we run the centrifuge at low speed and at high speed. Let me tell you one place where centrifugation is used widely. Ever wondered what happens to the blood that gets donated? How is it processed further? This blood is centrifuged and separated into different components, and then it is stored. The next material that we are going to take is ink. Well, it looks like it is one single compound, but is it? Let's find out. Some materials appear pure, but they are actually a combination of substances. For example, green plants contain a green pigment called chlorophyll, which is actually a mixture of different pigments. In addition, the black ink in the pens that we are going to use in this experiment is a mixture of different colored materials. In many instances, we can separate these materials by dissolving them in an appropriate liquid and allowing them to move through the absorbent matrix like paper. But this is not any regular paper. It is the chromatography paper. Well, you just don't have to take our word for it. We will separate all the components in this session. So let's start. But wait, how are we going to do this? And what does chromatography means? Chromatography is a technique of separating two or more dissolved solids which are present in a solution in very small quantities. There are various types of chromatography, that is paper chromatography, thin layer chromatography, liquid chromatography, and gas chromatography. In this session, we are specifically going to deal with paper chromatography, or to be more specific as paper partition chromatography. It was first introduced by German scientist Christian Friedrich Schonbein. By using paper chromatography, we can separate two or more different substances present in the same solution. This separation is based on the fact that the substances are soluble in the same solvent, let's say water, but their solubilities may be different. Some may be more soluble than others. For example, here the black ink contains a number of dyes dissolved in water. These dyes have different solubilities in water, and this fact is used to separate the dyes present in the black ink. A special type of paper called chromatography paper is used for carrying out separations by chromatography. For ordinary purposes, however, filter paper can also be used for paper chromatography experiments. In order to understand this better, let's jump to a simulation. Here we can see on the screen that we have a pen, a chromatography paper, a beaker having solvent, here the solvent is water, and a stand with a scale. Now here we are going to add a drop of ink from the pen on the paper on the marked line. Now we will take this paper and fix it properly on the stand and then dip it slowly in the solvent. You have to make sure that the ink drop shouldn't be dipped inside the solvent. It will make the compound dissolve in the solvent and the separation will not occur. So now as we have set up our chromatography paper in the solvent, we just have to observe the movement of water that happens on the paper. The water gradually rises up the chromatography paper strip by capillary action. As water moves up the paper strip, it takes along the dyes present in the ink. The dye which is more soluble in water dissolves first, rises faster and produces a colored spot on the paper at a higher position. The less soluble dyes dissolve a little later, rise slower and form colored spots at lower heights. In this way, all the dyes present in the black ink get separated by forming separate different colored bands. Now, our chromatogram is ready. Now, is this it? Or what do you think? Can we identify the compounds or dyes that we have separated? Yes, we can on the basis of the retention factor value, or also called as RF values, and this is the reason why we have a scale attached to the stand to measure these values. So what is this retention factor or RF? The retention factor RF is defined as the distance traveled by the compound D1 moves divided by the distance traveled by the solvent or waterfront, that is D2. Now here D1 is equal to the distance that individual color traveled measured from the center of the band of color to the point where the ink drop was applied, and D2 is the total distance that the solvent or the water has traveled. You can enter the values and check the RF values by yourself. Even though the black ink looks like one substance, but it actually is a mixture of lot of compounds. Well, wasn't that interesting? Friends, that's it for today's session. But wait, we still don't know how do we get LPG or common salt. Don't worry, we will deal with them in our next session. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this session. This session is based on an interactive 3D simulation called Scholar. Visit www.scholarlab.in to request a download of the software application to try this out for yourselves. If you have liked this video, then hit the like button, comment on any queries, and yes, subscribe to our channel for more such videos. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon and never miss another update from Letstute. Till then, keep watching, keep learning, and follow your curiosity. Thank you.